how do I make it sustainable? How do I make it something that we can do on a day-to-day basis? And that becomes your role as the founder. Is you are the chief resource allocator. How do I allocate the resources in the most effective way that's going to allow us to get to where we want to be in a way that we can actually sustain? What is going on? Welcome back to another episode of Founder Fires. And today's going to be, it shouldn't be too spicy. Apparently, you guys really enjoy hearing about my horror stories in business. We're going to be diving into some challenges. I know outside looking in, I know I've been through a lot, but after having a few conversations with people, they're like, dude, you need to talk about, why am I hearing this story for the first time? And the story is one of the questions was asked is why did I shut down my online fitness businesses? A lot of things went into me shutting down my online fitness businesses, but ultimately the biggest thing that kind of went into it was realizing inside of business, the thing that I enjoyed the most was building systems, developing people, and having high leverage. All right. So that was the biggest thing. But the biggest reason why one of the larger brands got shut down is really because it was a promotional company. The reason why I say it was a promotional company is because every single month was starting from zero. There was no recurring revenue. There was no resigns. There was no ascensions. It was a promotional company. So that company was really good at generating leads and closing deals. It wasn't good at the operational side of the business to keep customers, right? It was delivering results, but it got bloated. The operational efficiency wasn't there. So the backend team got so big to a point where it payroll every single month just to make payroll. That business had to produce hundreds of sales per month just to make payroll because it was starting at zero every single month. It's a challenge that when it came time to really you had to make cuts, the government wouldn't let that business lay off that many employees. So it ended up having to get shut down. The challenge there was, for me in realizing I really enjoy the building out acquisition systems, right? And really getting those things dialed in. And I enjoyed building out fulfillment systems, but I didn't enjoy necessarily managing the people that ran those things. Inside of business, I was asking I was talking with one of my mentors and they were like, what about business do you really enjoy? And I was like, I love the technology. I love building the systems. I love building the frameworks, the automations. I love investing in developing my people. But I don't necessarily love managing the people on a day-to-day basis, but I like investing in their development and holding the leaders accountable. Getting to a point, and I think some of you guys even hear this, getting to a point where it's you're selling that many units per month and still losing money. That's a scary place to be. Inside of that business, it was just too much chaos. There's a lot of things going on, and I can see my partners that were in the thick of it. I can see them out of stress that they were going through, trying to keep it from imploding. And it just got too big to it was too late to cut the fat. When you're building a business and really thinking with the end in mind and looking at the constraints within the business, but then also building in a way where it's sustainable, building in a way where you can actually maintain and you can scale, and having the right sequence. I've been through that entire cycle within a business. So when I'm having conversations with some of my private clients, I don't take on a lot of private clients, but when I'm having conversations with my private clients, I can share from a perspective that they've not experienced yet. And I've got the scars to show it. Right. So the scars being having a business where your payroll is just so astronomical and the revenue coming in is just not there. And you have to sell units each month. And that's the kind of worst kind of business to be in. All right. So with a service-based business or with like a coaching program type business, like online health and fitness, you have to have a back end. If you don't have a back end and you don't have a way to make the customers and the clients that you're enrolling more valuable, you're going to be miserable. I've lived that life. And then because the way that we're building that business, it was heavily dependent on people in the DMs. So growing the DM team and building that out and trying to find ways to make it more efficient, it's a recipe for disaster. That's why my experience and for me, when we launch new brands, we always launch with a system that's going to be the most scalable, the most predictable from the start, even if it costs more money to get in place. All right. That's why we like the VSL. We like the application. We like the quiz. We like the mechanisms that allows us to optimize further into the funnel, because I've experienced the other side of that where you don't have any kind of control over that. And you are at the mercy of the algorithm gods. Like you're just at the mercy of Facebook. You're at the mercy of Instagram. You're at the mercy of just like the quality of the leads that they send you one day versus the other, 1 month versus the other. They have no real control. There's no real dials there. So, for me, I always think like build with the end in mind now, because it informs how you do everything on a day-to-day basis. If you don't know where you're going, if you don't know what success looks like when you're building a business, you end up with a business that's very big for the sake of being big, and it doesn't serve your life. It doesn't serve you in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't serve your lifestyle. So now I just went through this exercise with our CFO and went through, okay, well, what does the business need? Where does it look like in 2 to 3 years for me to get what I want out of it? Right. And for my family to be taken care of, and for the people who are contributing to the business at a high level to be taken care of. Like, what does that look like for them? All right. And what does that look like for me? And what are the pieces that we need to have in place? How does a business need to get built in order to walk towards that path? And if you don't take time to really think through that, and you're just reacting to the day-to-day needs of the business and you never zoom out, you're going to be forever stuck in it. And you're going to be building a business that you look at in 2 to 3 years and you're like, how the heck did I get here? And then you're going to want to burn it all down. And that's where that burnout comes from. It's from building something for the sake of building and never thinking through, what does it actually look like for this thing to be completed? And what does it look like if I take it to the natural extreme based on the trajectory that I'm on right now? Is that what I want it to be a couple of years from now? And if the answer is no, then you got to make some adjustments tactfully on what you're doing on a day-to-day basis so that it's in alignment with where you want to be. All right. And that's what I prioritize now. I prioritize alignment of where do I want to be, and where do I want this thing to be in a couple of years? And am I taking the steps, making the decisions day to day that's going to help me get there? And if the answer is yes, awesome. If the answer is no, then I got to reevaluate how I'm approaching it. If it's not sustainable, I got to reevaluate how I'm approaching it. How do I make it sustainable? How do I make it something that we can do on a day-to-day basis? And that becomes your role as the founder. Is you are the chief resource allocator, right? Like you are the chief resource allocator. Like, how do I allocate the resources in the most effective way that's going to allow us to get to where we want to be in a way that we can actually sustain? All right. So that just wanted to pop in, share that. That's kind of top of mind for me to be kind of a briefer episode, but that was just kind of what was on my heart from the conversation that I've had. Hope you found it helpful. Take the time to think about what you are building, where you're going, how you're building, and just make sure if you continue to extrapolate and you essentially play it out as far into the future as you can, is what you're doing right now, if you play it out to its natural extreme, is that what you want? And if the answer is no, make sure you make the necessary adjustments today so that when you play the new adjustments out, it's what you ultimately want. So love you guys. Appreciate you. Like and subscribe. Till next time, stay calm, change lives, and not business on your terms. Peace.